September 10th, 2025, a bright, clear afternoon in Orem, Utah. Charlie Kirk is on an outdoor stage at Utah Valley University doing what he always does. He is holding court. He's arguing, debating, preaching to his choir, and confronting his critics. He is at the absolute apex of his power. He is 31 years old, a new father, the undisputed leader of a conservative youth movement, the head of a political and media empire worth hundreds of millions of dollars. He's in the middle of a Q&A session, a format he mastered, taking on all comers. A student asks him a question about mass shootings. He leans into the microphone, ready with a response. His final words are, "Too many." A single sharp crack rings out, a sound that is alien and absolute. It cuts through the background noise, through the applause, through the arguments. It is a sound that stops time. Charlie Kirk collapses backwards. For a long suspended second, there is only confusion. Then there is screaming. The panic is total. The world, watching on countless shaky cell phone streams, sees it happen live. They see the collapse. They see the chaos. They see the end of a life. The world stops. The internet breaks in half. News alerts flash across every screen on every continent. Charlie Kirk is dead, assassinated, at age 31. The reaction is immediate, and it is a perfect, brutal mirror of the man himself. It is a nation split in two. On one side, an explosion of profound, earth-shattering grief. 90,000 people will soon flood a football stadium in Arizona for his memorial service, a grand farewell fit for a head of state. He is called a martyr for truth. He is a hero who died for freedom. He is a saint. President Donald Trump will posthumously award him the Presidential Medal of Freedom, calling him a legend. His followers will vow to carry on his fight. They will see his death as the ultimate sacrifice, the inevitable cost of speaking truth to a corrupt and violent power. On the other side, a different kind of explosion. Celebration, vile, ecstatic, raw and unfiltered social media posts rejoice in his death. People will be fired from their jobs for mocking his end, and in turn, they become martyrs for their own cause. To these millions, Charlie Kirk was not a hero. He was a purveyor of the very hate and division that they believe led to this horrific moment. He was a demagogue, a racist, a promoter of the great replacement theory. They will say his violent rhetoric only reaped what it sowed. That is the question. How can both be true? How can one man be a saint to half the country and a demon to the other? This documentary is not just about a death. It's not about the single bullet. It is about the complex, contradictory life that led to it. It's about the machine he built and the machine he fed. It's about a man who changed American politics and the country that changed with him. How did a boy from the Chicago suburbs become a kingmaker, a media mogul, and the most divisive political figure of his generation, all before he was old enough to run for president? This is the real story. To understand the man, you have to go back to the beginning, before the assassination, before the motorcades, the sold-out arenas, and the Presidential Medal of Freedom, before he was a symbol, a martyr, or a demagogue. You have to go back to a place where none of it seemed possible. You have to go back to the American suburbs, Arlington Heights, Illinois, 1993. It is the American pastoral, the dream of the 1980s made manifest. This is not a story of grit, poverty, or profound trauma. This is a story of comfort. Manicured lawns, quiet streets, Friday night football, and good schools. His father, Robert, is an architect, a man who builds things that last. His mother, Catherine, is a mental health counselor, a woman who helps people put themselves back together. It's a home of stability, a home of privilege. He is an Eagle Scout. He plays sports. He is, by every available metric, a perfect product of his environment, an insider. But in this world of comfort, a different kind of energy is brewing. The kid is smart, but more than smart, he's argumentative. He has a voice, and he discovers early that he loves to use it. This isn't the quiet kid in the back of the class. This is the kid who raises his hand to challenge the teacher. This is the kid who, at the dinner table, turns every discussion into a debate. It's a relentless energy, a need to be heard, a need to be right. His family is conservative, but in the traditional, polite, suburban Republican way. His is not. His is something new, something sharper, something angrier. The first real sign comes at 18. He's a senior in high school. He's assigned a textbook. He reads it, and he doesn't just disagree with it. He sees it as an attack. He sees it as propaganda. He writes an essay, not for his class, but for Breitbart News, the far-right media outlet. He writes about the liberal bias in his high school textbook. Think about that. He's 18. He's not just trying to pass a class. He's trying to start a war. He's not just a student. He sees himself as a dissident. In the heart of one of America's safest, most comfortable suburbs, Charlie Kirk has declared himself a victim of ideological persecution. This is the obstacle. It isn't poverty. It isn't a broken home. It's the gnawing, powerful feeling that the entire world, the schools, the media, the culture, is lying to him. And he is the only one brave enough to say it. This is the moment the fuse is lit. He's found his identity. He's not just Charlie Kirk from Arlington Heights. He is a crusader. He graduates high school with a 3.8 GPA. He has the all-American looks. He has the booming, confident voice. And most importantly, he has an enemy. He has a mission, but he has no platform. He's a general with no army. He enrolls at Harper College, a community college in Palatine, Illinois. This is his struggle. It's not the struggle of the starving artist sleeping in a car. It's the struggle of a man who believes he is destined to save Western civilization. But first, he has to find parking for his Tuesday morning economics class. The mundanity is a prison. The fluorescent lights of the classroom are an insult. He is surrounded by people he believes are being indoctrinated, sleepwalking through a system he is desperate to destroy. He is, in his own mind, a spy behind enemy lines. He stays for one semester, but he's not studying for his classes. He's in the library, but he's not reading textbooks. He's reading about tax law. He's researching 501c3s. He's studying the architecture of the nonprofit industrial complex. He's watching his enemies. He sees MoveOn.org. He sees the campus organizations of the left. He sees their money, their organization, their power. And he sees a vacuum on the right. He attends local Republican meetings. He's 18, 19 years old, in an oversized suit, trying to tell men 3 times his age how to win the future. He's patted on the head. He's told, "Good kid, wait your turn." This is his rejection. It's the political establishment, the very people he thinks he's trying to help, ignoring him. For a person like Charlie Kirk, being ignored is a fate far worse than being hated. It's the ultimate humiliation. The rejection clarifies everything. The establishment won't let him in. Fine, he won't join the establishment. He will replace it. He will build his own. He refines his pitch. He's not just a kid with an essay anymore. He's a kid with a business plan. He writes it out. A new organization. A youth-focused, aggressive, media-savvy counteroffensive. He will build an army of young conservatives to take back the college campuses. He just needs the money. He starts cold calling. He sends emails. He uses his Breitbart essay as a calling card. He targets every conservative donor he can find a name for. The rejections pile up. Not no's, just silence. A digital void. 100 emails sent. 0 replies. 200. He is shouting into a void, and the void is not shouting back. This is his 147 auditions. He is on the verge of becoming just another angry voice on a blog, a forgotten footnote. He is almost normal. Then he gets a meeting. The name is Bill Montgomery, a wealthy conservative benefactor. Kirk gets in the room. This is it. This is the 148th audition. He's 19 years old. He walks in and he doesn't ask for a donation. He pitches an investment. He lays out the war. The left is winning, he says. They are capturing the minds of the next generation. They are doing it on college campuses, and you are letting them. You are funding think tanks. You are funding political campaigns. But you are losing ground. You are losing the future. Let me be your general. Give me the seed money, and I will build you an army. Montgomery listens, and he doesn't see a kid. He sees a vessel. He sees the perfect weapon. He is young, handsome, articulate, and he has something that cannot be faked. Absolute, unwavering, uncomplicated certainty. He doesn't just believe what he's saying. He is what he's saying. He is the walking, talking embodiment of the grievance he's selling. Montgomery says yes. A check is written. The amount isn't astronomical, but it's enough. It's the key. It's the first dollar. The breakthrough. Charlie Kirk walks out of that meeting, and he never walks back into Harper College. He drops out that day. He doesn't wait for the semester to end. He doesn't take his finals. His struggle is over. The war has begun. He is 19 years old. He is now the founder and CEO of Turning Point USA. The transformation is immediate. He goes from community college student to nonprofit executive. He's printing t-shirts. He's hiring his first staff, other young, hungry believers. He's booking flights. He's attending donor meetings in Palm Beach. He's building a database. He's learning in real time how to be a boss, a fundraiser, and a movement leader. But the real breakthrough isn't the money, it's his discovery of the brand. And the brand is him. He launches the first campus tour. It's not a polite lecture series, it's a series of confrontations. He sets up a table in the middle of the most liberal college quads he can find. He puts up a sign that says, "Socialism sucks," or "Big government sucks." And he waits. He brings a video camera. This is the genius of it. He's not there to win the debate. He's not there to change the minds of the students who come up to scream at him. He's there to get the clip. He's there to perform. He's there to create content. He's pioneering the campus confrontation to viral video pipeline. He confronts a liberal professor. He owns a feminist student. He debates a socialist. The video is edited, packaged, and uploaded. It explodes. To millions of young conservatives sitting in their own dorm rooms feeling just as isolated as he did, Charlie Kirk is a hero. He is saying what they are all thinking. He is their voice. He is their fighter. With every viral video, the donations grow. With every dollar, the organization expands. He starts the Professor Watch List, a database of liberal academics which critics call a McCarthyite blacklist. He calls it accountability. The more the left attacks him, the more famous he becomes. The more they call him a racist, a bigot, a fascist, the more his star rises. He has learned a fundamental law of the new media landscape. Outrage is a currency, and he is becoming the richest man in the world. He's barely 23 years old. He has a staff of hundreds, a budget in the tens of millions. He is a regular on Fox News. He is a star at CPAC. He has built, from nothing, one of the most powerful political organizations in the country. He is no longer Charlie Kirk, the kid from Arlington Heights. He is Charlie Kirk, a brand, a movement, an icon. He has built his own establishment. And then, in 2016, something happens that changes everything. Again. A New York real estate developer with a golden escalator and a message of grievance rides that same wave of anger all the way to the White House. Donald Trump is elected president, and Charlie Kirk, the kid who was once patted on the head and told to wait his turn, is about to get a phone call from the most powerful man on earth. The rise is over. The reign is about to begin. The 2016 election changes everything. Charlie Kirk goes from an outsider throwing rocks at the gates to an honored guest inside the palace. He has a direct line to the President of the United States. He's a regular visitor to the West Wing. He's not just a voice in the movement. He is a chief architect of its future. He is 23 years old. This is the peak. His career doesn't just climb, it detonates. Turning Point USA transforms from a campus organization into a political juggernaut. The budget explodes. $20 million, $40 million, $80 million. The organization's America Fest becomes a kind of MAGA World Coachella, drawing 25,000 young, fervent believers to arenas. They aren't just attendees, they are his army. He walks on stage to pyrotechnics, to screaming crowds. He is a rock star, he is a prophet. And then comes the media empire. The Charlie Kirk Show launches. It's not just a podcast, it's a daily sermon. A direct-to-consumer IV drip of pure, uncut ideology. It doesn't just succeed, it obliterates the competition. It hits #1 on the Apple podcast charts. It stays there. 50 million downloads a month, 100 million. The numbers become abstract, mythological. He has built a media platform more powerful than most cable news networks. He doesn't need the mainstream media to cover him. He is the media. He isn't just a political activist. He is a kingmaker. His endorsement can make or break a Republican primary campaign. A 30-second mention on his show can flood a candidate's war chest with millions of dollars in small-dollar donations. He hosts a parallel Republican National Convention, a shadow government of ideas. He writes multiple New York Times best-selling books. He is, by 30, one of the most powerful and influential figures in American politics. He isn't just at the peak. He is the peak. He has everything he ever wanted. He has built the machine. But a machine that powerful, a machine that runs on that much energy, requires a human being at the center. And that human being was drowning. Watch this clip. It's from a 2024 podcast, deep into a 3-hour marathon. He's mid-rant, railing against woke corporations. And for just a second, he stops. Watch his eyes. He looks away from the camera, offset. The mask doesn't just slip, it shatters. You don't see the firebrand. You see a man who is profoundly, bone-deeply tired. You see the exhaustion of a man who has been at war, non-stop, for 12 years. It lasts for 2 seconds. Then, he blinks. The performance snaps back. The voice returns. The rant continues. But you just saw the truth escape. The public persona was a warrior. The private man was a prisoner of the war he had created. The public sees the firebrand. They don't see the man who in 2021 marries Erika, a former Miss Arizona. They don't see the wedding photos, the rare glimpse of a genuine, unguarded smile. They don't see the birth of his first child and his second. He is, in these quiet moments, a husband, a father. He holds his children. He tries to build the one thing his fame can't buy, a normal life. But the brand is 24/7. The brand is a beast that never sleeps, and the brand must be fed. He is surrounded by millions, and he is completely, utterly alone. He's on a private jet, flying from an arena in Dallas to a fundraiser in Palm Beach, surrounded by staff, by security, by politicians. And he's scrolling. He's reading the comments. He's reading the hate. He's reading the adulation. Both are poisons. Both are a drug. He is the most connected man in America, and he has no one to talk to. This brings us to his inner demons. But they weren't the kind you find in a bottle or a pill. His addiction was the algorithm. His drug was the outrage. It was a dependency built, click by click, over a decade. Addiction specialists call it a hijacking of the brain's reward system. A person does something, they get a reward, a dopamine hit. For Charlie Kirk, that hit was a viral clip. It was a standing ovation. It was a million retweets. It was the roar of the crowd. It was the validation that he was right, that his enemies were wrong. His brain was rewired. It craved the fight. It needed the conflict to feel alive. But like any addiction, tolerance builds. The hit fades. What was outrageous yesterday is boring today. The rhetoric must become more extreme. The enemy must become more evil. The war must become more apocalyptic. The machine he built to win the culture war required the culture war to escalate. Forever, he was trapped. If he softened his rhetoric, if he took a day off, if he admitted doubt, the machine would stall. The audience would go elsewhere. The donations would dry up. He would become irrelevant. And for Charlie Kirk, irrelevance was a fate worse than death. So he fed the machine. He gave it more anger, more division, more fear. He was the high priest of the outrage cult, and he was also its first and most profound sacrifice. He was addicted to the very thing that was, day by day, painting a target on his back. This is what led to the controversies. They weren't accidents. They weren't gaffes. They were the fuel. It starts early, the Professor Watch List. It's one of Turning Point's first major initiatives. It's a public online database of academics who advance radical agendas and discriminate against conservative students. His supporters call it transparency. They call it accountability, a tool for students and parents. His critics call it a blacklist. They call it 21st century McCarthyism. They provide evidence of professors who, after appearing on the list, are flooded with death threats, with harassment, with calls for their termination. The message is clear: disagree with us, and we will unleash the mob. Then there is the rhetoric on race. He famously tweets, "Systemic racism is a myth." He attacks the legacy of George Floyd. He says on his show that black culture is a separate, inferior culture. The condemnation is swift. Civil rights leaders, historians, and academics call it textbook, undisguised racism. They accuse him of deliberately stoking racial animosity, of giving intellectual cover to white supremacists. His supporters say he is a truth teller, brave enough to say what others only think. He says he is defending Western civilization. And then he mainstreams the Great Replacement Theory, a white nationalist conspiracy that claims global elites are intentionally replacing white populations with non-white immigrants. He doesn't just flirt with it, he embraces it. He broadcasts it to his tens of millions of followers. The Anti-Defamation League calls this dangerous, anti-Semitic, and racist, pointing out its direct link to mass shootings in Christchurch, El Paso, and Buffalo. His team says he is just talking about immigration and voter replacement. He aims the transgender community. He calls them a threat to children. He calls for the eradication of transgenderism. Critics are horrified. LGBTQ advocacy groups say this is not political commentary. They say it is stochastic terrorism, using mass media to inspire random lone wolf actors to commit violence. They say his words are, quite literally, getting people killed. Here is the complexity. Here is what we know for certain. Charlie Kirk used his platform to broadcast ideas that his critics and numerous watchdog groups identified as racist, anti-Semitic, and eliminationist. Here is what is disputed. His supporters claim he was a victim of media misrepresentation, that he was a champion of free speech, and that he was simply asking questions. Here is what the record shows. His rhetoric grew measurably more extreme in the final years of his life. You can draw your own conclusions, but you must understand the contradiction. He was a devoted father and husband. He was, by all private accounts, loyal and generous to his friends. And he was, in his public life, the single most effective and powerful purveyor of the ideas that defined America's new, violent, and fractured political landscape. He had everything, and he had nothing. He was surrounded by millions, and he was completely alone. He achieved his American dream, and it destroyed him. Both things, always true. The final year of his life, 2025, is not a slowdown. It is an acceleration. It is a desperate, frantic sprint. Charlie Kirk is 31 years old. He is a new father, with a second child just born. By all measures of a normal life, this should be a time of nesting, of pulling back. Instead, he pushes forward. He launches the American Comeback Tour. It's an interesting name for a man at the absolute pinnacle of his power. A comeback from what? Perhaps from a country he felt was slipping away. Or perhaps a comeback from the man he saw in the mirror, the private father he was failing to be, swallowed by the public firebrand he was forced to perform. Watch him in these final months. The energy is different. The bravado of the 23-year-old is still there, but it's brittle. He's thinner. He speaks faster, the words tumbling out in a torrent. He looks tired, not just physically tired, but spiritually exhausted. The man who built an empire on outrage is now, visibly, a casualty of it. He's a man running on fumes, a man who has to generate a new world-ending crisis every 24 hours just to keep the machine he built from stalling. His inner circle would later say he was sleeping, on average 3 or 4 hours a night. He lived on airplanes, in hotel suites, and in the neon blue glow of his podcast studio, constantly scrolling, constantly reading the comments, constantly absorbing both the adoration and the poison. It was a state of permanent high-alert siege, and it was a siege of his own design. His late work, his final podcasts, are his most extreme. The rhetoric is no longer just conservative. It is apocalyptic. He is not just arguing with liberals. He is in a spiritual battle with demons. He talks with chilling frequency about the end of America, about the need for a holy war. His faith, always a part of his brand, has morphed into a hard, militant political weapon. He's no longer just a commentator. He sees himself as a general, and in a war, generals become targets. In his final interview, filmed just 2 days before his death, the reporter asks him if he ever fears for his safety. He's asked about the constant graphic death threats. Charlie Kirk leans back, and he gives the classic, confident, dismissive laugh. "I'm not afraid," he says. "We are on the side of truth. Truth is a shield. We are winning." But if you watch the clip, if you ignore the words and watch his hands, you see them. Gripping the armrests of the chair, white-knuckled. This is not a man who is unafraid. This is a man who understands the contract he signed. He built a career on the idea that America was in a war for its very survival. He made himself the leader of one side. He knew with an awful certainty what that meant. He knew he was a target. In fact, he had spent 12 years painting that target on his own back. It was the entire point. This is the man who flies to Utah, not declining, not fading away, but accelerating, right until the final sudden stop. September 10th, 2025, Orem, Utah. It's a perfect, clear, late summer afternoon, the kind of day that feels safe, normal, American. He's at Utah Valley University for the first stop of the American Comeback Tour. The setup is classic Turning Point. An outdoor stage, a tent, a few thousand students and supporters gathered on the grass. It is, by design, open, accessible. He wants to be in the crowd. He thrives on the energy, the confrontation. There is security, yes, local police, his private detail. But it is a public space, a soft target. The event begins at noon. He's in his element, tossing TPUSA hats into the crowd, smiling, shaking hands. He gives his speech. It's the speech his followers have come to hear. He rails against the woke agenda. He talks about the spiritual rot in the country. He gets his applause lines. Then he opens the event to its main purpose, the Q&A. This is his arena. This is where he became famous. This is where he shines. The first question is about religion. He answers for nearly 15 minutes. The second question comes from a student. It's about transgender individuals and the statistics of mass shootings. It is a setup. A friendly question designed to let him hit his most controversial and most popular talking points. He leans into the microphone, a slight smile on his face, ready to deliver the line. His last words are, "Too many." 142 yards away, on the roof of the Losi Center, a 22-year-old named Tyler James Robinson is lying in wait. He is not a political operative. He is not a member of an organized group. He is a ghost, a local 22-year-old kid with a .30-06 Mauser hunting rifle, and according to police, a deep-seated hatred for Charlie Kirk's ideology. He is the random, lone wolf actor that critics of heated rhetoric had always warned about. He is the physical manifestation of the other side of the divide. At 12:23 p.m. he fires a single shot. The sound is a sharp, flat crack. It doesn't sound like a movie. It's so fast, so clean, the crowd doesn't immediately understand what it is. But the bullet is precise. It travels 142 yards and strikes Charlie Kirk in the neck, severing his carotid artery. The cell phone video, the video that will be seen by billions, is horrific in its simplicity. He doesn't fly backwards, he just stops. His body, his energy, all of it just extinguishes. He goes limp and collapses. For a full, silent 3 seconds, the world is suspended. There is only the sight of him on the stage and the high-pitched whine of the audio feedback. Then the screaming begins. It is a wave of total animal panic. People dive for cover. Security swarms the stage. 6 men, including his own father-in-law, carry his bleeding, lifeless body to a black SUV. It's a frantic, desperate scramble. He is rushed to Timpanogos Regional Hospital, but he is already gone. He was, in all likelihood, dead before he ever hit the floor of the stage. At 2:40 p.m., Donald Trump posts on Truth Social, "The great and even legendary Charlie Kirk is dead." The world stops. In a quiet, sterile room in Orem, Utah, a 31-year-old man is gone. And across the planet, the machine he built ignites. The aftermath is his true legacy. It is a country split, perfectly and violently, in two. On one side, a tidal wave of grief, a profound religious mourning. His memorial service is held at State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona. 90,000 people. 90,000 people show up. They stand for hours in the desert sun. They weep, they pray. It is not a funeral. It is a coronation. His wife, Erika, gives a powerful eulogy. Donald Trump calls him a martyr for truth and freedom. Vice President J.D. Vance says he died for his Christian faith. He is compared to Lincoln. He is compared to Martin Luther King Jr. He is no longer a man. He is a saint. He is posthumously awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the nation's highest civilian honor. And on the other side, celebration, a grotesque, gleeful public carnival of joy. People post videos of themselves dancing. They write, "Rest in piss." They celebrate the killing. The division is so stark, it is terrifying. An NBA employee is suspended for liking a celebratory post. A professor at Rutgers faces a firestorm for an insensitive comment and is hounded out of the country. The president of the Oxford Union is impeached and removed for his remarks. The culture war that Charlie Kirk monetized and mastered now has his body as its grandest prize. It is feasting. This is his legacy, this unbridgeable chasm, this dark, violent canyon in the American soul. A canyon he did not create, but one he widened, one he dynamited, one he mined for fame, for money and for power. And now a canyon that has claimed him. He is gone. The person is gone. The husband is gone. The father of 2 small children is gone. The boy from Arlington Heights is gone. But his work remains. His hundreds of thousands of hours of podcasts, his videos, his books. They exist in an eternal present tense. They don't die. A 16-year-old in rural Missouri, feeling angry and alone, will discover the Charlie Kirk Show on his phone tomorrow. He will hear that voice, that absolute unwavering certainty. He will find a purpose. He will find his anger. He will find an enemy. And Turning Point USA, the organization he bled for, is now more powerful than he ever could have imagined. He is their ultimate fundraising tool. He is their martyr. His death is the final, irrefutable proof to his 90,000 mourners and his millions of followers that they were right all along. That the other side is not just wrong, but evil. That this is not politics, but war. Legacy isn't what you leave behind. It's not a statue or a plaque. It's what you set in motion. Charlie Kirk set in motion a machine that runs on grievance, a machine that needs an enemy to survive. A machine that long after its creator is gone continues to run faster and faster in the dark. He is gone, but his war has just begun. September 10th, 2025. You have to understand the ordinariness of the day. It was a Wednesday, just after noon. The sun was bright over the Utah Valley University campus. It was a perfect, clear, almost unremarkable late summer day. This was the first stop of the American Comeback Tour. For Charlie Kirk and his team, this was routine. This was just another day at the office. The stage was set up under a tent in a grassy amphitheater. The crowd was about 3,000 strong, a mix of devoted followers, curious students, and a handful of protesters on the perimeter. The atmosphere was charged as it always was, but it was not dangerous. It was a college campus. It was the middle of the day. While Charlie Kirk was on stage tossing hats into the crowd, another event was unfolding, unseen. 142 yards away on the roof of the Low-Size Center, a 22-year-old named Tyler James Robinson was moving into position. He was a local, not a known political extremist, not on any watch list. He was just a young man who, according to investigators, had become consumed by an online vitriolic hatred for Kirk's ideology. He carried a .30-06 Mauser bolt-action rifle, a high-powered hunting rifle. He had climbed to the roof, found his vantage point, and he waited. He had a clear, unobstructed line of sight. On stage, Charlie Kirk was in his element. He began the Q&A, his favorite part of any event. This was his arena. The first question was about religion. He spoke for nearly 15 minutes. He was passionate, articulate, commanding. The crowd was with him. Then, a second student was handed the microphone. The student asked a question about transgender individuals and the statistics related to mass shootings. It was a friendly question, a setup for one of Kirk's most controversial and popular talking points. He smiled, leaned into the microphone, and began his answer. His last words, captured on a dozen different cell phone cameras, were, "Too many." It was 12:23:30 p.m. A single, sharp crack echoes across the quad. It's a sound that doesn't belong. It's too clean, too loud. It's not a firecracker, it's not a microphone popping. It's the sound of a high-velocity rifle round breaking the sound barrier. For a fraction of a second, no one moves. There was only the sound and then the sight. Charlie Kirk's body goes rigid. He doesn't fly backward, like in a movie. He just stops. The energy, the voice, the life extinguishes in a single frame. The single bullet, fired from 142 yards away, strikes him in the left side of his neck. It severs his carotid artery and his jugular vein. He collapses, limp, onto the stage. For 3 long, terrible seconds, there is silence. It is a frozen tableau. The crowd, confused. The security, scanning. The man on the floor, unmoving. And then the sound hits. It is not a sound of politics. It is a sound of pure animal terror. A wave of screaming. 3,000 people simultaneously realizing what they have just witnessed. The panic is total. People drop to the ground. They run, trampling each other. The shaky cell phone videos that would be seen by billions capture this chaos. They capture the screams. They capture the unthinkable. On the stage, chaos becomes frantic action. Security agents swarm Kirk's body, forming a human shield, their guns drawn, scanning the rooftops, not yet knowing where the shot came from. His father-in-law is there, on his knees in disbelief. 6 men, a mix of security and event staff, grab Kirk's body. There is no time for a stretcher. There is no time for medics. He is bleeding profoundly. They lift him. They carry him, a desperate, frantic scramble off the stage toward a waiting black SUV. They load him into the back. The car peels out, tires screaming, racing toward the nearest trauma center. It is 12:23:55 p.m. Just 25 seconds have passed since the shot was fired. The SUV speeds through the streets of Orem, arriving at Timpanogos Regional Hospital in minutes. But it is too late. He was likely dead before he ever left the stage. The trauma team is waiting. They try, but the damage is catastrophic. In a quiet, sterile emergency room, far from the screams and the cameras, the fight is over. He is officially and finally pronounced dead. Age 31. The world, however, does not know. For nearly 2 hours, there is only rumor. Social media is a wildfire of speculation and contradictory reports. He was shot. He's in surgery. It was a prank. The internet is suspended in a state of agonizing uncertainty. Then, at 2:40 p.m., the notification hits every phone on Earth. It's a post on Truth Social from Donald Trump. The great and even legendary Charlie Kirk is dead. It is the most surreal and brutal of confirmations. The news is now real. The rumor is now history. In that moment, the world does, literally, stop. Internet servers crash. Cable news anchors interrupt their broadcasts, their faces stunned, reading the bulletin live on air. On the streets, strangers stop and stare at their phones. And in that same single moment, the nation splits in two. In homes across America, there is the sound of weeping, of prayers, of people falling to their knees. And in other homes, on other phones, there is the sound of cheering. The death of Charlie Kirk was not an end. It was an ignition. It was the gunshot that this time everyone heard. It was the start of the next and most violent phase of the war he had championed. So who was he? Who was Charlie Kirk, really? Was he the person his family knew? The loyal friend, the devoted son, the loving husband and new father who in rare private moments showed a side the world never saw? Was he the high school debater from the suburbs, the kid who just wanted to be right, who just wanted to win the argument? Or was he the public persona, the brand, the icon? Charlie Kirk, the relentless general of a new kind of culture war, the voice of a generation's anger, the firebrand who walked on stage to pyrotechnics and the screams of 25 Muslim people. Was he the brilliant communicator who built an $80 million empire from nothing? Or was he the purveyor of dangerous, divisive, and racist rhetoric that tore at the very fabric of the country he claimed to love? This is the central, unresolvable question of his life and of his death. Remember the split screen? On one side, 90,000 people in a stadium, weeping, praying, holding him up as a martyr, a saint, a prophet who died for their sins, for their truth. To them, his assassination was the ultimate proof. It was the final validation that the other side was not just wrong, but evil, violent, and demonic, just as he had always told them. His death became his most powerful, his most enduring, his most irrefutable argument. In death, he became more powerful than he ever was in life. He was no longer a man, he was an idea. He was a cause, and on the other side, celebration. A grotesque, joyful carnival on social media. Millions who saw him not as a martyr, but as a demagogue. A man who, in their eyes, had spent 12 years poisoning the well of American discourse. A man who mainstreamed white nationalist conspiracy theories. A man who, they claimed, was a stochastic terrorist, using his platform to incite the very kind of lone wolf violence that ultimately found him on that stage in Utah. To them, his death was not a martyrdom. It was a terrifying, predictable, and self-fulfilling prophecy. A tragedy, yes, but a tragedy he himself had written. How can both be true? How can he be a saint and a demon, a victim and a catalyst, a truth-teller and a liar? This is the answer. The legacy of Charlie Kirk is the contradiction. His legacy is the chasm itself. He didn't create the divide in America, but he was, perhaps, its most brilliant and most ruthless architect. He found the cracks in the foundation, and he hammered at them. He mined them for fame, for money, and for power. He built a machine that ran on grievance, a beast that demanded to be fed a new enemy every single day. And in the end, that beast consumed its own creator. The machine, however, is still running. It's running right now. His voice, his words, his arguments, his anger. They are all still here, preserved in the digital amber of his podcasts and his videos. They are still finding new recruits. His organization, Turning Point USA, is now more powerful, more funded, and more driven than ever, fueled by the rocket fuel of his martyrdom. He is gone. But his war continues. In 2024, a year before his death, he was asked what he wanted his legacy to be. This is what he said: "I want to be known as a fighter, someone who, when the world was on fire, ran into the flames." His critics would argue that he was the one holding the match. Maybe we all are, in our own way, different versions of ourselves depending on who's looking. Maybe we all carry these contradictions. But his were larger, they were louder, they were broadcast at a volume that changed the world. He was brilliant, he was broken, He was a builder. He was a destroyer. He was a father of 2 small children. And he was the general of a war that made him a target. All of these things are true. They are all, always true. We can try to understand him. We can celebrate him. We can condemn him, but we can no longer ignore him. We are all now living in the world he helped to make. We are all living in the shadow of the divide. He widened. We are forced to look into that chasm, and what we see is ourselves. Remember this photo? The high school yearbook. Before the fame, before the arenas, before the anger. Just a kid, smiling, full of that uncomplicated, absolute certainty. Back then, it just looked like confidence. Now you know the cost. You know the price of that certainty. The trauma, the exhaustion, the loneliness, the addiction to the algorithm, the non-stop 12-year war. You can see it all now, even in that young photo. The joy and the pain, the promise and the price. He gave his cause everything, and it cost him everything. This is how we should remember him. Not as a saint, not as a demon, but as a human. Complicated, flawed, brilliant, dangerous, real. He was Charlie Kirk. He was here. He mattered. He always will.